There's a lot of slate deals that happen. Let's say we do multiple films at any given point in time. You have let's say Surya's film or a Karthik's film, and we package it with, let's say, 2 other films that we have. Let's say we do an Arya's film or a Nayanthara's film, and it's easier for the buyers also to look at a slate of films. That way, it's easier for them to absorb. At one place, you get a slate of films, and it's easy for them to address their content demand issues. So that way, it's been happening now. Of one-off content, if it's a small content, there are buyers, but there are hybrid models that have come in. And Amazon has a hybrid model. So earlier, it used to be a perpetual sale, right? Yeah. So you give them to Amazon or anybody for a 99 here, it's a perpetual sale. Now, it's come down to a hybrid model where they buy it for a year. Okay? Right. After that, the content comes back to you. So you decide whether you want to renew the deal with Amazon, or you can go to any other partner to put your content on. Yes. So that's a good thing that's happening. Slowly, it's moving on to the states where content is being not bought completely, but it's like, I buy a content, we share profits. So I think the trend is moving towards there, but we yet to see it.
Right. Is it going to coexist finally? You will have an OTT release as well as the theatrical that's going to happen.
Well, that's a dream thing for anybody, but see, there'll be a lot of industry trade pressures not to happen. Right. So we may have to give it some time. So this 28-day window itself is a huge thing that happened. COVID helped push it. Otherwise, this acceptance wouldn't have happened. Right. All right. So now a film gets released, whether it's a Vijay's film or a Rajini's film or any big actor's film, you release that film on OTT in 28 days. Earlier, it was a 100-day window, right? Yeah. And this has reduced your piracy issues and all that, as a byproduct. Right. But simultaneous release, we had to see it.
Right. Thank you. Mark, this is for you here. We are seeing a lot of, different types of content. One is a long-form content, typical films or web series, how we do. Now, there was a surge post, TikTok was banned out and Insta had reels coming in pictures. Now, we have shots as well. As brands, how do we see it? Where do we position ourselves? As an MC and partner over here, when I play around with my shots, which is about roughly I give a story in under 1 minute, right? My 10-12 minutes is going for a toss. Right? Everybody needs to consume content within 60 seconds, right? They don't have time to watch it for 10 to 12 minutes, which I can see this eventually. And we're trying to balance it out. As original content creators, we try to balance it out. We play it around with, we give a hype in the shots, and again we'll bring them back to the main content, right? On brands, how do you see this? Because short-lived content is, you don't have a shelf life to it, right? Wanted to know your point of view on this.
TikTok was the OG, right?
Right.
And when it disappeared, there was a real surge. Everybody wanted to start something like that. Right. And in the TikTok time, actually, the brands were also just figuring out what do we do with this, right? But now they have. There is so much branded content which is coming out. Brands themselves making the content which is there, right? Working with micro-influencers, which has become so big, and the kind of content they put out for brands, right? Something which we did way back in I think it was 2017-18 was, we had worked with Evam, right?
Yeah, correct.
They are a bunch of, again, very talented stand-up guys, do a lot of theater. And we worked with them to make not really short-form content, but a bunch of really quirky kind of films in the style which only they can do, right? And it was just an experiment for us, but worked wonderfully.
Perfect.
Right? The medium has become so embracing, right? And all-encompassing.
Right.
So it's really wonderful to see the way that brands have also adopted and are using this very, very effectively.
Right.
For us as a paint brand, we look at, in one way, engagement, right? With a lot of the content that we put out. Inspiration, which we give for customers who come to our page and look at the kind of color combinations which are there. So that is one angle of it. For our painting services business, we have a lot of the content which we put out specifically for that. Short testimonials, right? Very, very quick ones which can entice somebody just to see what's there next, right? That's where it really works well, is to just build that curiosity, right? So that's how I think short form content is being used. But I really feel, if you want to give a real good testimonial, you still need the entire YouTube big, you need at least a 3-minute kind of a thing. It doesn't work in 15 seconds or 4 slots of 15 seconds or things like that.
In the short form and
yes, as you said, you just said it. You entice them with the quick content which is there, but you bring them to what you really want to do. These platforms also have changed, Ram. It's not what it used to be so many years back.
True.
Today, to be very honest, in the last 1 year or so, most of my impulse purchases have been only on Instagram.
Wow.
Never on Amazon or a physical store as such. No, my own personal impulse purchases, right? So the platforms have evolved so much, that it is giving opportunities not only to brands, right, but to individuals to actually build their own little bit of commerce into these platforms.
Do you think it will work, as in like putting Mark as a proper user on an Insta, where you get a sponsored ad on another paint brand? Would you make him do a shop now feature, get switched on? Would you go there and see, the paint is a product is very close to your heart, right? You don't pick and choose. It's like touch and feel types, right? You can't choose over a click.
That's what we thought a few years back. Even a few years back, we would never have thought paint can sell online. Because as you said, it's a very personal experience for paint. You want to see the colors, you want to experience it, things like that. You would be surprised to know today we are selling on Amazon.
Wow.
We are actually selling on Amazon paint. Right? And it was an experimentation, again, that we did. We worked very closely with the Amazon category team to develop this. And to our surprise, it's actually doing well, along with so many of the other categories which are selling.
Who makes the decisions here? The men or as usual, the women?
I really don't know, because unfortunately, I don't have access to the consumer data from Amazon as yet. Right? So I don't know who's buying it. I have my own assumptions which we are doing. We can't reach out to those consumers to find out, who's doing it. But the entire ecosystem has changed over a period of time, right? And things you never thought possible 3-4 years back are happening in front of our eyes.
Right.
So there's a lot of wonderful content actually, even if you look at e-com, when you go on the page, how does a consumer choose?
Right.
That's also a form of content, I would say. Yeah.
Perfect. We spoke about branded content. This is for Vijay. Who best, apart from Viral Fever, can talk about branded content here? You've been doing the Panchayat and the Kota factories, right? Everything has been going as a branded content only. How do you see that? As in, like, going forward, I found your catalog as well for 2023, and 24 looks really promising over here. What is the key takeaway for brands here? And how do we, for the agencies, we have a lot of agencies here as well.
Agencies? What is that? Sorry.
I get that.
Our mother brand is TVF, and in this part of the world, whenever we go to a client's office and we say TVF, is that TVS? I said, no, it's not S, it's F. F as in the F for fourth dimension, that F. So it's TVF. Incidentally, some of our best work in storytelling in web series has come from Bangalore. We've done pictures with Kingfisher. We've done permanent roommates with Common Floor. Season 1. Season 2 was with Ola. Then, of course, there's Unacademy and Kota Factory, Unacademy and Aspirant. I'm sure some of these names ring a bell at least the brand names I'm hoping ring a bell to people here. I will also think of some of the statements. I think the gentleman from Brill said, Jairam, I think he mentioned about how consumers are rejecting most regular advertising, and you get feedback from the comments and all of that. Mark here, my friend, is also facing a challenging time because the audience's tastes are changing. There are so many options, whether I do influencer, whether I do short form, long form, pre-rolls, search, lots of other performance-based advertising. Then Yogesh made some statement about how there are quick fixes and there is long-term brand building. So if you take all of this into consideration, what has happened in the branded content space is there's been a huge explosion in the ownership of smartphones itself. In 2013, I normally don't quote too much data, but 2013 there were 90 million smartphones. In 2023, there are 900 million smartphones. So just imagine the access that is suddenly increased by leaps and bounds. So that is one thing that has happened. B is, I think the COVID probably was one of the best things that happened to us, because the consumers were all shacked up at home and they had no choice, and suddenly they woke up and saw content on OTT, and they said, wow, this is probably some of the best content, very engaging, very entertaining, and they just hung on, they just continued from there. So I think from then what has happened is marketers have been a little more open to trying out doing branded content. It's still not there yet. I mean, I was thinking of Soumya's statement that something happened in Ayodhya and clients calling saying, we have lots of ROs. No, after 13 years of creating some of the best content in the country, we still don't have our phones ringing. We still don't have clients breaking the door and saying we want to partner. Although secretly inside their own boardroom, they must be saying, hey, I also want to do what Unacademy did. I also want to do what Kingfisher did. I also want to do what Tata Motors did with tripling. But, you know, that is a huge leap of faith you have to take. You have to, understand that gone are the days when I could control everything. I could control my advertising. I could control my audiences. I could control it. That was the medium of pushing communication down. 20 years ago, we look forward to advertising. Now, you ask the average consumer, nobody wants to see advertising. I mean, in 5 seconds, you see that skip ad button, right? Truth be told, 9 out of 10 times, all of us press the skip ad button. Why? Because we don't want to see the communication. But the content that is there eventually is something that you want to engage. And if that is talking to you meaningfully, it is entertaining you, it is educating you, it is taking you through a journey, you are likely to engage. And in that, if there is a brand who's talking to you in a subliminal way, not in your face, not saying, oh, mera Vivo wala phone dena, oh, mera ye dena, wo dena. Not that way. If it is engaging in a very thematic manner, chances are that the consumer might connect at the point of purchase. And so I'll give you a case in point. Tata Motors had launched this vehicle after many, many years. I mean, that Nano flopped, lots of other vehicles flopped. It was like a fuddy-duddy car. No normal 25-year-old in his right frame of mind would go to a Tata Motors showroom. They were struggling. I mean, after multiple failures, they finally launched something which was called, what is that? Zika. Zika was the car they launched in 2016, early 2016. It stands an acronym for Zippy car. Okay. As luck would have it, around that time, the Zika virus broke out. And despite doing one of the best advertising and all of that, that entire campaign flopped, and they had to recall the name, and then they signed on Lionel Messi as the brand ambassador. I mean, they said, what do the youth want in this country? What is the global sport that they follow? Isn't soccer, and who's the biggest ambassador? Lionel Messi. And they took on, and Tiago, incidentally, is Lionel Messi's son's name, and that's how the brand Tata Tiago was launched. And as luck would have it, a week later, Messi got caught up in some tax scandals. So even that campaign had to be pulled back. I mean, imagine Tata Motors' luck. Finally, they got the product right. Finally, they got the communication right. But 2 rounds of things failed. Eventually, they came to us and said that, hey, listen, this is the challenge that we are facing. Can you help us? And we said, sure. And we went back. We thought of a story. We went back to them and say, hey, this is a story of 3 siblings on a road trip. And we're calling it tripling. And guess what? Your brand is going to be the 4th person in that entire show. And they absolutely loved it. And they've never done anything like this before. But, you know, have you ever seen a blind man cross the road? Somebody help the blind man cross the road. It's something like that. Doing branded content is something like that. You have to just trust whoever is taking you across the road. You're not going to ask 10 questions. Oh, how many steps are there? Is there a barrier? Is there a speed breaker? Is there something else? So, and trust me, a lot of brands like the founder at Unacademy, until the last week before Kota Factory launched, didn't even know that the show is in black and white.
Right.
So that's the level of trust. Oops. But point that I'm trying to make is branded content is an essential part of your brand journey. It is not going to replace your pre-rolls. It is not going to replace your regular Star Plus and IPL and the news channels and the religious channels. No. But we will probably complement some difficult tasks or difficult communication objectives that you have. We will be able to tell it in a much more meaningful way through storytelling.
Perfect. Thank you. Sonia, this is for you. Yeah. We have a direct opposite content lineup on yours, especially into the devotional space. We're talking about, maybe 25 below watches TVF more, 25 above watches, Shankara TV or any devotional channel for the matter of fact. On the digital space, right, now I'm seeing a lot of...
Correction. If you're assuming that people below 25 or it's the about 25, no. I mean, I also have a 4-year-old kid who watches Shankara. And these are people who are following it like in the evening band. So this assumptions that we have had that, the devotion or the spirituality is only confined to these oldies at home, it's absolutely a misnomer.
Right.
We have content for various age groups and it's been consumed. Also today with the fast life, nobody at home has the time to kind of give these values and all of that, So there is this channel and we are not just present as a TV channel. We have our OTT getting launched this month. We have our digital space and the content, as he said, it's different content in every mode, So we have to keep churning different content for different audience and the way they're consuming it.
Perfect. I just wanted to add the cultural nuances of it. How on the digital space, I'm seeing a lot of new channels getting launched. We launched Trend Bhakti about a year back. We have done about 1.5 lakh subscribers so far within a year. How do you see that on the digital space?
So I'll tell you in a channel like Shankara, which is a 15-year-old brand, and we're celebrating our 15 years today. We were the first channel that got launched in the south of India with devotion, right? So there's a lot of belief, authenticity with the content that is there. Yes, there are many digital channels, but I'm not too sure about the authenticity of the content there, And that becomes a very important role for us at Shankara. So whatever we offer, the kind of audience that is looking at us, there is this purity associated. There's, a lot of belief in the brand. So keeping all of that in mind, be it a 1 lakh subscriber or a 2 lakh, really, we don't really bother about how many subscribers. We're just engaging with the right audience. And as far as we do some good content for them, we are very happy with the way it is.
Perfect. Thank you. Coming to Yogesh here, we would want you to throw a lot of light on audiobooks, one. And I'm also seeing some surge on podcast. Suddenly we get carried away by the West. And now it's hitting, the YouTubers moving into the podcast diaries as well. So what's the difference between these two? Quickly.
When we speak about audiobooks and podcast, typically an audiobook is just a written, an audio version of a written book. So there will be no modifications to the actual content of the book. While when we talk about podcast, it is typically, there are 2 types of podcast. One is an unscripted one, which is a host-driven one, where this is something like this. So this could easily be a podcast, where you get experts who are talking to each other either in a about and subject or just having fun, like Cyrus does, for example. Or you could have a scripted podcast, which is closer to an audio original, which is also a lot of people do. So when you talk about the growth of audiobook and podcast, when we started, Storytel started in India in 2017. We launched it. So we were the first India-based unlimited streaming audiobook company. That point of time, I would say the audiobook and the podcast market in India would not even be a few crore rupees. Like if I have to guess, last year, looking at all the players, now it is more than 150, 200 crore rupees in 5 years. So in a bigger picture, the amount is small, but the growth has been great, and I think it will continue to be like that. So if I take a look at some of players, I mean, there is us, there is Audible, there is Pocket, there is Cuckoo, and if I take a look at this entire area, last kind of guesses were that we do know that there are almost 4 to 5 million people now in India who are regularly listening to audiobooks, while the same number for podcast, people put it somewhere between 50 million to 100 million. And we were talking about YouTube. So people do listen to podcasts on podcast apps like Spotify. But based on our own experience of some of the marketing podcasts we do, people listen almost as much or more on YouTube in a listen-only mode compared to podcast apps as well. So I think the difference, there are a lot of gray areas between them. But typically, I would say an audiobook, you're going to put months and years to create a book. So there is a real value to it, which is also why it's also very expensive. While if you take a look at podcast, it has low time commitment to make it. So the barriers to entry are much more smaller.
Right, thank you. My last question for Lakshman here. We were discussing about the interactive video, right? It's all about experience, like we all summed it up for. How do you see that? Where do we go ahead on the interactive video?
So, interactive video right now is being used in the OTT and the small screen area, okay, where the makers take the inputs from the customers or the audience to change the direction of how a content moves or how the screenplay moves. For example, if Rajamouli sir had to take a direction from the audience or a poll from the audience to if Katappa had to kill Bahubali, and the screenplay changes based on whether he killed or did not kill. Well, that's going to be a very interesting change of course of things. But are we ready for it from a time commitment, from a resource commitment point of view? I think we're yet to be there. It may happen in the long term, but a full-on interactive on a large-scale film or the long format, I don't think it's doubtful. But there could be experiments. There could be experiments done there.
More to come on that side.
Yes, I think so.
Perfect. So we are summing it up quickly. We started off with how the devotional space is taking place in the market, and the next couple of more days is going to be full of devotion, where the entire India will be talking about it, right? Like Vijay said, the creator economy is booming here. We bank more on creators, right? Trendloud is filled up with creators, so Viral Fever as well. And when we have Mark beside us, I guess we can keep traveling more, right? We need brands, we need agencies to support creators over there. And similarly through Yogesh as well for Storytel, right? That's about it from us. We are open for questions from you guys. Anything that you wanted to ask us upon? Yep, someone there, sorry. Hello, Vasanti, celebrity from Bangalore, popular RJ. Welcome.
Thank you, Ram. My name is Vasanti Hari Prakash, as Ram mentioned. I'm from the podcast space. In fact, I'm the founder of Pickle Jar Media as well. Very interesting discussion. What I was wondering was the challenge that on the other side. I see all of you from, let's say, the production, but from the demand side, I would say that it's very challenging for the individual content creator. There are lots of misses and there are a few hits. I think also in the audio space, I wanted a quick word from you. I heard Yogesh speak about the podcasting one, right, versus the audiobooks. What we typically find is that the acceptance of streaming platforms like Spotify to accept the non-celeb podcasts, where does it leave the individual content creator? What are your suggestions or hacks for people who want to and monetize? That is the word I was looking for. What are the tips that you all can give? Or any of you who would like to address this? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I can at least start and maybe, others can continue from there. Yeah, it is a tough thing. So, which is why I talked about that the industry is growing. It has grown very well, but it is still 150, 200 crores. Very driven by celebrities in certain cases, and a lot of it dependent on free user-generated content in terms of others. So if I have to take a look at the company which has invested the most in creators and with say audiobook or writers has been Storytel. I can say at least till now. But it's not easy. I'll be very frank. So as a podcaster, how do you find your 1,000 people who will pay $100 to you? And so I do know of a couple of famous podcasters, but they do have following of 50,000, 100,000, where people actually pay money directly to them and they make very good money. When we talk about brands, and you can back up. Brands typically, other than very rare cases, don't want to invest in podcast. And that is why, because we have got the elephants of Facebook and Google over there. The digital money, and we ourselves have been guilty of it, that when you talk about CPAs or convergence, it's very difficult to look after these guys. And then when you talk about branding, then it's television or TVF, again, very big ticket items. So for a podcaster, I would say that it is, you will have to put in like 3 to 5 years. If you begin, if you're already big, it becomes easier. And then, maybe Storytel pays out every time somebody listens to podcast on Storytel, which is not true for most of the other platforms. So you need to get it on Storytel, and you need to get your audience to follow you on platforms where they pay you. So maybe, it could mean that you're opening up a Substack account. It could mean that you're opening up a Patreon account. Because the industry in India, when you talk about a content creator industry, and now I talk about books, not about movies per se, but the books, I'm feeling like that award show where I have to be quick. So if you take about book industry, the industry is growing, and as India becomes richer, like today the book industry for a trade book market is like 3,000 crores. But as India becomes rich, people will not mind paying money on books. So I think the future in the longer term is very good. In a short and medium term, if you're an individual creator, you will need to be innovative and it will not be easy.
Anyone else? Okay, there's someone.
No, I guess we've run out of time. You can speak to him offline.
Right. Okay.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all. May I request Ms. Smita Vasudevan, General Manager Marketing, Malayala Manorama, Mr. Vijay Sunku, Managing Director, Parimal Mandir Agarbattis, Mr. Anil Airur, President of Reporter TV, Mr. Raja Ramamurthy, Managing Director, Trend Loud, to felicitate our panelists. Mr. Mark Chandran Anup Titus, Head of Marketing, Nippon Paint India Private Limited. Mr. Lakshman, Film Producer, Entrepreneur, Prince Pictures. Mr. Vijay Koshi, President, The Viral Fever. Ms. Sonia Nayak, Director, Sri Shankara TV, Kamadedu Telefilms Private Limited. Can I have all of you for a photograph, please? Sir, all of you, please. Sir? Let's move on to next panel discussion, content marketing to millennials. I invite Mr. Deepak Karnani, Director Serevan Media as moderator. I request panelists, Mr. Chandrasekhar Reddy, Head of Sales and Marketing, Gemini Edibles and Fats India Private Limited. Mr. Ramsai Panchapa Kesan, Managing Director, Investments Harvest Media India. Ms. Smita Vasudevan, General Manager, Marketing, Malayala Manorama. Mr. Karthik Shankar, Head Digital Group M.
The captivating world of Puthiyugam, a journey that began on October 5th, 2013, when the Puthiya Thalaimurai group expanded into the realms of entertainment, touching millions of hearts along the way. Start your mornings, soul-stirring devotional programs to uplift your spirits. Puthiyugam brings the glitz and glamour of the silver screen stars right into your living room. Puthiyugam's proud moment came in hosting the prestigious Chennai International Film Festival.
These festivals through which we get to see films made from all over the world.
Doctor on Call is your trusted companion, guiding you towards a healthier and happier life. Nakshatra Janal, a delightful chat show hosted by the charming actress Sangeeta, brought you closer to your favorite celebrities.
Tamil cinema la hot girl.
Nayanthara, chip.
Experience the magic of television with first of its kind shows like First Frame, Red Carpet, Showreel, Yugam Connect and Yendran Ruminiyavai. Join us as we celebrate the legends of Indian cinema on the spectacular show Yendran Rum. For all the young lovers out there, Love Bites is a hit show that celebrates the essence of love.
Love illana edume illenga.
Puthiyugam has telecasted several captivating stage shows featuring musical legends from the South Indian movie industry. One such show is Yuva, by the talented music composer and singer Yuvan Shankar Raja. Stars the melodious voices of Mano and Shivangi, enthralling the audience with popular Tamil songs. Additionally, Iruvar witnessed dynamic performances by SPB Charan and Yugendran. This apart, the grand show by Unni Menon and Srinisha lit up the stage. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to all those who have been part of this incredible journey. Thank you for being a part of Puthiyugam's wonderful expedition, and we look forward to entertaining you even more in the years to come. Stay tuned for excitement, inspiration and joy only on Puthiyugam.
do all these numbers mean to you? All these numbers have just one purpose. They are meant to work for your clients, brands and products. So tell me, how can we at Vigadan solve the problem of your brand communication?
Next panel discussion would be on content marketing to millennials. I invite Mr. Deepak Kanani, Director, Serevan Media, as moderator. Our panelist, Mr. Chandrasekhara Reddy, Head of Sales and Marketing, Gemini Edibles and Fats India Private Limited. Mr. Ramsai Panchapakesan, Managing Partner, Investments, Havas Media India. Ms. Smita Vasudevan, General Manager, Marketing, Malayala Manorama. Mr. Karthik Shankar, Head Digital, Group M as panelist on stage.
I wish all the very best to Mr. Shankar and his fourth dimension team to have a rocking media summit. It's a great idea. I wish I could have been there, but I have my pre-commitments. But then it's not going to stop with this 1 year. It's going to continue. I wish them all the very best. And go ahead, rock it. I wish
Sorry, we are a little late. We thought our session was at 4:15. I'll just start with a quick introduction, maybe if all of you could introduce yourselves.
Hey, hi everyone, and apologies that we kind of got on stage a little late. This is Karthik Shankar. I look at digital investments for Group M, and happy to be there and talking any questions there. Happy to answer.
Hello, sorry once again. My name is Chandrasekhara Reddy. I head sales and marketing for a brand Freedom. The company name is GF India. I am from Hyderabad. Nice to be here.
Good evening. I am Smita Vasudevan. I'm a general manager with the Malayala Manorama group of companies. I handle digital products, including a matrimonial brand, Emphomary, which is in all South, as well as a lot of digital products which are relevant for Kerala audiences. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ramsai Panchapakesan. I work for Havas and I lead investments for Havas as well as the growth, business growth for Havas India. Thanks.
I'll just start with the first question because the topic, because the topic is content marketing for millennials. I'd like to start by asking you, all of you, whether the term millennials is still as relevant as it used to be, and what are your thoughts on the same as publishers, as brand marketers, and media buyers?
Anybody can take? I go first. Yeah, thank you. So, as we all know that the India is one of the youngest country. That's what the topmost secret in the global arena, right? So coming back to millennials is the parameter or the word that has been coined. But when we look at this millennials, the age sector, that's actually spread across almost 18 to 22 years is what that we have seen, that the people who actually in the mid ages as well as people who are all in the early 40s are also into the millennials. So my perspective, we at Havas, we do a lot of dissects. We get into deep dive into the consumerism and then the targeting and the segmentation of the targeting. We do it and we directly get into the specific TG targeting. That's what. So the word sounds really fancy, the millennial, but the brands are always, intending to, do the sharp targeting by, eliminating the spillovers and wastages. That's what we do. That's my perspective at Havas.
Thanks, Ram. Karthik, if you'd like to add.
Yeah, so okay, slightly different point of view. I don't think millennials or defining the age group really matters in this space, as we're all evolving, right? And discovery is one big piece, right? Discovery is where brands learn at multiple touch points what's changing as consumer behavior. And as agencies and also as brands and also the ecosystem evolves to know what is working, what are the touch points, and how do we really engage them there. And content be the is the ground or the food is the place where you really get to understand where the consumption of them happens. So for me, I think millennial the question can really change into different answers depending on where you're seeing yourself from. As a brand, you would say, yes, my TG is millennial, so I won't really talk to them, and therefore, what is the activity that I want to do? For others, it might really mean that it might want to acquire more millennial users, or all the users, prime them early into consumption, into understanding and getting them digitally ready, and so on and so forth. So for me, I would just say that the term itself may not really matter as long as you're able to be there, track, understand where the consumer is moving, and that's what eventually matters for the ecosystem.
Yeah, I'll take you through to my brand story. The brand is started in 2010. Today it is India's largest selling sunflower oil. Okay, like you said, say millennial, the terminology that is used is, I think, 1981 to 1986. But that number doesn't matter because this is coined by somebody else, and for an Indian it can be different. They are basically today age group of 28 to 42 plus. If today, when my brand started, we did not really focus on this millennial per se, but actually our target audience is female 25 plus. Essentially, they are today. If I take for the argument, for the discussion's sake, if I combine my target TG as a male and female, both 25 plus, because they're independent of taking decisions, they constitute 70% of our population is my target. Within that 70% of population today, if you just divide the people who born between 1981 and 1996, they are at 34%, 35%. So roughly 50% of my target is in the millennials. Okay. How are they different? Before the millennials, they are Gen Y. Gen Y, are they different from Gen X? In some traits, yes. In some traits, no. So realizing that, of course, although brand started in 10, we didn't have any focused activities with the millennials. The millennials in the urban and rural or tier 1 and tier 2 are behaving differently because the way they groom, the way the education is, the way internet exposure is. So from 10 to 12, 10 to year 14, we didn't have any focused activity, which I'll cover that later. But later we started recognizing this, and then the brand has been doing well in the urban also.
Yeah, continuing with what the other panelists have just said, it's not just millennials, right? Even in any age group, you find that across 2 to 3 years, you find a lot of difference in how they consume content or how they perceive brands. So you can't probably lump an audience into millennials anymore. But what really matters today is for any brand is to understand audiences and how audiences relate to the brand. And there is a lot of difference in how they perceive your brand and how they would like to consume your brand in content. So that I think is the most critical part of discovery that we need to look at. We need to understand the audiences which are relevant to us and how they consume content, or what are the keystones of content that can resonate with them. So that's very important today, where we understand how relevant we as a brand are in their lives, irrespective of which demographics or psychographics you would like to call them.
There are brands actually chasing Gen Alpha now and priming them really, really early. So millennials are the ones who have highest disposable income at this point in time. Maybe they are at this point, but I think right from platforms, changing behaviors and understanding consumers, I think.
That's precisely what we're trying to say, because I come from a 136-year-old brand, but we have products even for kindergarten kids with Magic Pot, and then we have digital avatars of these. Like, for example, when we started off the matrimonial brand I'm Married 15 years back, it was actually an evolution of the matrimonial pages that we had in the newspaper for the past 70 years. So when we did a matrimonial website, it was a continuation of understanding our audiences and how they have migrated beyond the geographical confines of what the newspaper was. For us, the entire journey has never been about technology alone. It's always been about the community that we belong to. So for each brand, it would probably the same. How do you create your community of content? How do you create a community with content is even a more relevant question in today's era.
Smita, how relevant, how important do you think is localization when it comes to creating the community that you're talking about?
That's very essentially, I have seen a lot of brands who play around with localization in terms of, just changing the language or putting up, what you call a South image. For example, if it is a Pongal, you would probably see someone who's just decked up in, a Tamilian dress, and if it's Onam, you would find the same person who would probably be in a Kerala sari draped across. But our audiences are completely unforgiving when we come to these kind of translations when it's possible, because there is a lot of difference in terms of how regional audiences consume content or perceive content. There are universalities. For example, your brand will have a commonality which would fetch you an audience. But for every audience, you need to iterate on what it means to that relevant audience. That's where I think, content has to be essentially relevant to those whom you're speaking to, for which you need to have a localization, not just in terms of a particular place, but in terms of even the affinity that you draw upon.
Which leads me to the next question for marketers and buyers. One of the challenges we face in content marketing is how do we address the ROI that's delivered with various forms of content. How is it that you map the efficacy of your content marketing initiatives?
Yeah. When I say ROI, it's a very difficult thing in the marketing to measure. Okay, but then it's measurable. Having said so, if you're only advertising in digital, yes, you're only selling in digital without nowhere advertising, probably measurability gives you a close. But if you're advertising in several places, you're advertising outdoor, you're advertising print, you're advertising TV, wherever, on the shop, then advertising becomes a bit difficult. Because, we have done, whenever we do advertisement, we do go back to consumers and try to, where have you seen this ad? Invariably, they gave us all the wrong leads. What they come across more is what they will see, what they will repeat. So, but in ROI, for me, two ROIs are there. One is return on investment, return on expenditure. One is ROI in the marketing, for me, quickly connects with me is ROI means, relevant, original, and innovation. Whoever takes care of this marketing in these three, they'll do well. And my gurus have taught me this. I think it's going to be true even in the future age, which AI will take over the marketing. As long as you meet these three, relevance, original, and innovation, I think you'll do well.
This will definitely be one of my key takeaways from this discussion. And coming to you Karthik and Ramsai, what are the kind of tools that you're using internally, or how do you map?
Okay, so
ROI specific to content marketing.
I'll take a
or even influencer marketing for that matter.
I'll take a quick step back and also go back to the earlier panel, right? Storytel specifically mentioned about reaching out to even for influencers who have even 3,000 or 4,000 followers, right? Or the nano or slightly high. So the nature of what he was trying to say was, again, going back to what the marketer was saying. Are you being original? Are you being really working towards building your own specific brand? And therefore, what is the output that you want to look at? There are various stages in which you can look at content marketing, right? If you look at a B2B, right, account-based marketing is very, very clear, right? You have very clear, clean messaging. You need to have the right kind of white papers, ability for them to move through the funnel. You have the right kind of audience that you're speaking to. You have a very well-oiled machine of analytics to CRM, to CDPs, to other things that really map it back and tell you that if you run this content marketing activity, this is this calendar, and these are the creative collaterals that you need to use, you will be able to generate X amounts of leads. It is a very, very well-established oil, and we do it for a lot of our B2B clients, including IBM. Then you have the B2C element where the content gets, or the addressability of this content or the audience that you're talking to is a large base, and you're talking to them at various levels, right? A lot of content that is ideally put, and there are two stages to it. One is brands created content, and the other is the UCG that you generally look at influencer marketing to kind of create an out. At the end of the day, 2 points to make. One, the cost of content production itself is very well subsidized because of a large influx of distribution, and it is pretty much controlled by a lot of players. And the measurement systems that helps you to determine ROI is again being controlled by a very select set of companies, right? So, and if you really have to go into each and every breadth of it and categories, if you want to go into, the content marketing landscape and the way you measure ROI changes. Like, for example, a BFSI would ideally be using a lot of specific content about, the comparing, multiple assets where you want to allocate. How do you go doing SIPs and do about multiple layers? We do it for AMP and others, right? And if you go to FMCG, the kind of content that really wants to be created to drive ROI becomes different. The fundamental is, do you have the right recipe at large, right? And there is no one specific recipe that I can talk about because it changes with categories, it changes with brands. Are you true to actually measuring it right? And are you defining the right parameters that really helps you to decide? Like he said, after the ad is aired, do you go to do a market mix modeling? Do you go out in the market and check with your consumers, is that really resonated with you, and so on and so forth? A lot of that really has to be done right in repeated fashion for you to arrive at ROI. So the question is, I would not really say what the ROI is. There's no one specific number, but the underlying principle that I want to leave everybody is, do you have the framework right? Are you building the right kind of inputs into your content marketing strategy? Do you have the tech that is enabling for you? Are you doing interventions at the right time? And are you measuring the results appropriately? That really defines what is the ROI for you, rather than me giving you saying, this is the input blah, blah, blah formula.
How about you, Ram? I mean, do you look at specifics, measurable ROI? Because, when we talk about content, there's a lot that's intangible as well. So how do you add what's intangible to what's measurable? And how do you decide what, the right mix for content marketing solutions that you're proposing to your clients?
Yeah. So the previous query, the question, tools and measurability. So currently, for content, what we have actually seen is that there is no exact tools are available. The way that, we actually get our mainline media measured, it has not been evolved so far. The way that the mechanism works in content marketing is very simple. Way that we do is that if it is a box office hit, if it is a 500 crore collection, then we say that it is very successful. Because end of the day, it all, leads to a business and the revenue and the return on investment, right? Likewise, when it comes to a brand marketing, when we actually get into the content and we actually choose the content, again, we go and see that what target that has been set to do the particular content initiative activity. Is it an awareness? If I can actually get that awareness captured through my third-party monitoring or third-party tracks and all, then I'm there. That's what is the precise response for tools. And as far as the other content measurability area is concerned, that, again, today, the way that we actually plan our content association is, it's not that one size fits into all, right? So we get into the specifics, we get into the problem. The content actually comes when a brand gets into a little bit of problematic situation where the clutter level is very high, where multiple brands are offering the same formats. That's where we need to actually stand out. And the third thing is where we actually get into the content is that if the brand has nothing to offer in the new format, but still I need to actually, continue with that brand, and then I have to be on top of the minds of the consumers. Then the content actually comes. Then I start, making my brand as a character within the content, and then it start living in the people's and the consumers' mind for them to actually build that consideration again and again in their mind space. That's what it's of my opinion.
And any standout examples that come to your mind, Chandra, basis of something that you would have done in the past that really worked well for your brand, or something, Smita, that you would have suggested to some of your brand partners that really stood out as an example of good piece of content marketing?
Yeah, I think coming from both the publisher as well as brand marketer perspective, I think we will go with what we have tried with our own media, because we have the flexibility of using a lot of diverse media at our end. We are, when I'm speaking about a matrimonial website, we cannot probably talk about just technology. I mean, we could say that we're using AI to make your partner search better. We could say we're doing more advanced filtering for you. But at the end of the story, people are experience goods. So there is the magic of what happens when one person likes another person is completely different from only those filters that you could put on any website. So what we've thought about was the best part of what we say are the stories that our customers do. So this is a storytelling that we have used as content across our platforms. So this goes into stories on Manorama Online as people's stories and how they met. And every person has a different story on how they met their life mate. And each of them are unique. And there's a lot of interest for other people to read these stories as well. So on Instagram, it takes a different form. On print, where we do daily profiles, this is the way we showcase our user base. So content in earlier days used to be one big television ad where we put a lot of energy into creating the brand story. Today, every piece of communication that you do with your customer is that content. So our brands really equipped to handle the plethora of content creation that we are having today. The question is, today, content is so democratized that, as Karthik just mentioned, it's not just 3,000 people. I mean, you follow a lot of your friends who may only have 200 of your peer group, but they are influencers as well. So it is, the onus is on the brand to showcase themselves in every piece of content they create. And everything that the brand speaks, how the brand acts, and every part of that brand has to resonate in that storytelling. Because ultimately, your brand is the story. And how you say it has to be everywhere.
So, Chandra, how do you manage to do all of it, right? How do you manage to get the right message out through content? And if there are any standout examples which you can share with us?
There's no right, wrong, but the process has to be right. So with every communication that we have been doing, so I'm just going above the content. The content first is the communication, that what route that we want to take. So with every communication, we go to consumer and what's connected you, For example, I just need a bit of more time here. The brand launched with first with establishing the name, Freedom name, but later we took into some consumer insight came that your Freedom refined sunflower oil consumes less. There's nothing great about our oil, because if you give a genuinely 100% sunflower oil properly refined, it has to consume less only. So on that we have gone into kam tel mein zyada kana. It's not that it consumes less. We advise also to use less and cautiously, and it consumes less. Then later, the same story we have been repeatedly saying that, for example, connecting to the millennials, today's young women are not as much as, it used to be the moment they are adults kind of a thing, learning cooking is the regular thing. But of late, the current women, because of the career conscious or whatever it is, or because of technology, or mom is a call away, or mother-in-law is a call away, so it's not their priority. So with that insight we made, so every communication we made so far, every year, one TVC is made with some consumer, very impactful consumer, but the communication is same, but refreshing. So that's what it is. But in terms of failures, there are many. As many success and communication, we made at least probably more than 20 communication with a digital or TV. As many failures as success are there, but accepting it quickly. It's not that sometimes consumer what gives goes well. Sometimes you may not put it properly, but accepting it quickly is the boldness lies there. So this much time is, I need 45 minutes to tell what failed, what success. So I can't be telling in few
valuable
minutes.
So, I mean, we are a room full of content marketers, media publishers. So I'd like to ask you if, there's a couple of pieces of advice that you can give, that this is what we look for in content, or if, what is it that advertisers really want when it comes to content marketing. A lot of it you have answered through the previous questions as well, but if, if young and budding content marketer were to come to you
I will
and
say
pose this question.
5 C's. Understand consumer, understand the culture, understand the company, understand the category, understand the connections, touch points.
That's great. That's great.
I mean, this is very, very sharp to the brand and requirement.
Each has 10 minutes speech to say.
I have a slightly different POV, right? I don't know if you guys follow Yuval Harari. He has a very interesting thing to say, right? One of the the core of what we are, right, is the language, the communication, right? That power really gives the ability to connect with people, gives you trust, and eventually is responsible where we are today, right? We have given away that to AI, right? In some sense, language, content, communication are things that are very, very core. It's your animal behavior, right? It's very, very subconsciously true to us. From that lens, a piece of advice is that we are living and we are going to coexist in places where technology and what we are as a species are together. If you're able to connect, if you're able to build and sustain, and when you look at building products, when you look at building technologies, when you look at communicating using content and build platforms accordingly and build tools to measure and things, as long as you're able to kind of coexist and use insights and the animal behavior that is core to your communication and your language and culture that he talked about, if you're able to have the right balance mix of both, is the where really your success is, right? You can apply it across categories, you can apply it across brands, you can apply it across different spheres of how we live as a community and so on and so forth. But your ability to adapt, your ability to connect and coexist with technology is going forward will be the place where your real success or your survival will be, right? And that's what I would do.
In fact, I just, add to 3 more C's what you had said. One is, of course, we have to understand the content and the credibility, because the brand actually been built over the years. One small piece of content can completely erode the brand image. So that's where, the credibility becomes a very, very vital and important part of a content association, which a brand actually looks for it. The other one is, of course, everything we keep in mind and the competition also. So most of the times what happens, sometimes, the brands will actually look at us not, channelizing or, wasting our energy towards chasing the competition strategy. There has to be a unique strategy. The content has to chase for the brand where the brand can actually stand out in a unique proposition that actually gives the brand best return. And the third C is what we at Havas are very, very mindful of is cost. I mean, you can actually bring out of world ideas and everything. If those ideas are not within the brand operating budget or brand's operating cost, or if it is not there at the affordability level, then actually that idea completely goes under the drain. This is what actually, precisely the three C's that with all, humble and greatness, I just wanted to add it to that. We have that 8 C's today. Let's see how many more C's we can add.
And what do you feel about content marketing beyond digital? Because, a lot of our discussion today is focused on digital, mobiles becoming the first screen for users. So, but with platforms and mediums like, print, TV, radio as well, what's your approach towards content creation or branded content within these mediums?
Actually, so while I was flying, I was watching a movie. I mean, I never heard of that movie, to be very honest. Kahan Ko Gaye Hum. That's the movie name, Hindi movie name. And it was like, the movie is all about one simple messaging about what he talked about, that second screen. The most of the time, why the content has to be very, very meaningful for the consumer is because the consumer actually spends almost 1/3 of his the productive age into their screen only. They are always like this, most of them. You look at anyone at home also, we are like this only, right? And we communicate. We are like, that time we focus two devices. One is the actual device, the other one is the human who is standing in front of you. And we treat them also as a device because this device has already taken over us. Right, that's one. And the second thing is what I've actually come across when we look at into these completely digital and beyond digital is that hybrid model continue to exist. It is not something that coexists. It will exist at parallel is what my opinion, because there is something that we cannot actually, get the pleasure when we get into touch and feel. Take it at a right sense. Touch and feel is a feel that, when you go to the showroom, when you actually visit the places, the feels are totally different than completely going into a digital mode and looking or experiencing the picturization or the product's specification in a VR and a AR mode. It's totally different. These two actually complements each other. When I see something on VR, I definitely wanted to go and experience it on the ground. That's how, today, if you would have seen that the topic here itself suggests that millennial, where all the music shows, all the music concerts, everything is actually starts at a ground level. That is where, the content has been created, and that is where the engagement, that is where the emotions, expressions, feelings, everything gets shared. We dance, right? When we listen a song, and if it is a peppy song, we dance, right? That's what the emotion is all about, physical is all about. So content within digital and, going beyond digital, that's where, we as an agency also foresee that, the hybrid model is continue to exist, and it will actually add value to the brands in upcoming days.
Perfect. Chandra, you want to add to it in terms of offline
if you want
or
to
mainline content?
tell my example, in addition to the digital, what we do, we also have planted stories on the news channels and the PR and advertorials, doctors talking about. We have another product called rice bran oil, which is actually, we can call it most healthiest oil on the earth today. But because made in India, it's because cheap, we tend to ignore. We doctors, a lot of cardiologists have written stories, oncologists from US I planted stories from like that. So we've been practicing it. I mean, digital is for us new. Okay, in the last 5-7 years only we have been pursuing it very seriously. In fact, the kind of budgets that they are asking today, my budget 10% is going to digital, but for them, they want more, at least double, triple. But the problem lies in what to cut, where to cut. So, do I cut the print? That's what I'm doing it for urban.
Increase
or do
the
I
budget,
cut?
sir. Increase
Yes,
the budget, don't cut it.
That's not, I can only play around within the budget, but increasing budget is not with me. So, that's what it is.
That's the pain point of all of us here, right?
And digital, when it comes to biggest challenge is, of course, good is interactive. The challenge is where to put your digital money is the thing. So many new things coming. Every quarter, new proposals come.
Right.
You know, like is a print and TV, it's a vanilla thing. You know? There is a measurability. There is a there's a performance linked payment. Digital is a little confusing and challenging.
There's actually two parts to this, right? One is the digital content as a content, and the other is content put out on distribution, and you still be able to digitize or measure it digitally. Both are two different aspects of measuring content, right? I think digital content comes with an innate ability for you to measure and therefore track and respond. For the content that is put out, if you're able to digitize or have digital enablers that can measure for you, it still is a place for you to kind of build ROI metrics or insights that you can look at. Like I understand, I've seen multiple use cases where there's a company which basically has the QR code that you can scan on a newspaper, on a print ad, and the ad comes alive and you can track multiple elements around it. So technology as digitization and applying digitization across distribution and the touch points where the content is distributed is different from the digital content in itself, right? So I think that is very, very critical for brands to analyze and take calls on.
So to sum it up, I would just want to ask one final question to all of you, more than a question, a statement. Do you see any emerging trends, given that we are at the start of the year? Do you see any standout trends coming up as far as content marketing is concerned?
Localization is what we spoke about it. Within the localization, there is a personalization is also, is going to happen, is what we have actually looking at, because the penetration for the brands or the penetration amongst the consumer, it can only happen through the expansion in terms of the markets, and the expansion actually comes through the more and more, geographical, crossing the geographical boundaries is what. That is where the localization we talk about it. And that has been happening it for quite some time now. Now, within local, the personalization is what the upcoming trend that we foresee.
For me, coming also from a purely technology-driven perspective, I think what 2024 for brands would really look at is an opportunity to look at content not just from a brand to consumer perspective, but also as an opportunity for a consumer to speak to the brand as well. So content done right is a conversation. So that conversation can kickstart if you realize how your content can include the customer. And your brand is also co-created with the customer. So along with UGC, you find the power of content when it becomes a conversation.
Yeah, I would not like to predict on where we are going to lead. Anyway, all of us know that AI has already taken some part of the content creation, and maybe it will take more. I'm not really worried there because I'm going to be there where the consumer is. But the problem is for me is going to be the way digital is growing, while TV not declining as much as expected because of the rural and urban divide, and probably because of many more issues. The challenges for a marketing, choosing the right medium is going to be it's been always challenging, but it is simpler. It was only one channel, one TV, and Doordarshan was there. And Doordarshan, so many channels have become, it's become all the more challenging. Print plus TV plus outdoor is all. Now print plus digital, within the digital, performance marketing, cause marketing, this marketing, that marketing. With there so many marketing, content creation, this, that, and all that, it's going to be very painful, but we have to live with this.
You have
the skillful fellow who can get into this will win.
You have experts in Ram and Karthik who can help you with all
Sure,
of your
sure.
concerns.
That's why we are doing it so good.
So from my ends, I think what are the trends? Trends are your supply on content is going to continuously grow, right? Your touch points, the time spent is definitely going to be there. AI is definitely disrupting, right? You have a lot of content coming in, so that's things like one last point. And third is the cost to really engage to get the brand to have an ROI is going to continue to dip, right? But having new currencies, new metrics, and new measurements are very, very important. And it is imperative that we need to bring it now and then. Otherwise, it's just going to be a losing battle. So these are three major points that I thought.
Perfect. So I think we're running out of time, but thank you all for... Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Sorry? Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Sir, please be on stage for the felicitation. May I request Mr. Pankaj, SRM University, Mr. Bala and Babu, Fourth Dimension Media Solutions, to facilitate the guests. Requesting everyone for a group picture, please.
ರೇಡಿಯೋ ಸಿಟಿ 91.1 ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ 5ರಿಂದ 7ರವರೆಗೆ ಕೇಳಿ ಶುಭೋದಯ ಆರ್ಜೆ ನಿಖಿತಾ ಜೊತೆ. ಫ್ಯಾಂಟಾಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಆರ್ಜೆ ಪಲ್ಲವಿ ಜೊತೆ ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ 7ರಿಂದ 11. ಸ್ಟಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಆರ್ಜೆ ನೇತ್ರಾ ಜೊತೆ ಕೇಳಿ ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ 11ರಿಂದ ಮಧ್ಯಾಹ್ನ 2. ರೌಂಡ್ ರೌಂಡ್ ರಜಸ್ನ ಮಾತುಕತೆ ಹಲ್ಟೆ ಮಧ್ಯಾಹ್ನ 2ರಿಂದ ಸಂಜೆ 4ರವರೆಗೆ. ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ವಾಂಟೆಡ್ ಆರ್ಜೆ ತ್ರಿಶೂಲ್ ಜೊತೆ ಕೇಳಿ ಸಂಜೆ 4ರಿಂದ ರಾತ್ರಿ 8ರವರೆಗೆ. ರೇಡಿಯೋ ಸಿಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಲವ್ ಗುರು ರಾತ್ರಿ 8ರಿಂದ 12ರವರೆಗೆ.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I have you all seated, please? May I invite Mr. Bijoy Nair, Zonal Head, Programming South Head Content for all 3 South languages, to quickly speak about disruption in radio innovation. Can I have you all seated, please?
Hi, good afternoon. Post-lunch, almost coffee time, towards the end of the session, is almost a reflection of radio's role or where radio is placed in a media plan. You know, so let me just, and most of you would know me. For the 99.9% who don't know me, my name is Bijoy. I head content for Radio City South. A couple of things that I've noted down during these sessions, the earlier sessions. Couple of words, okay? One is credibility. In the last panel discussed 8 C's. I'll add the 9th C, which is comeback. And Radio City, or radio as such, is a reflection of that whole comeback, in terms of where we were, and same questions that when radio started, the same questions that were asked to us. A couple of those questions I'll just present to you now. Is radio relevant today? Does it make business sense to include radio in your media plan? Does radio reach your audience? So these are the questions that were asked of us when radio first launched. Radio, as you know, is nostalgia for a lot of us. In the early 2000s, when radio really started off, the same questions. The questions were answered, and the questions are again asked because of the different ecosystem. It's probably because there's a new competition, which is digital, and if you look at what radio really stands for, is innovation. When radio started off, we had podcasts, we had your influencer marketing earlier. In the new avatar, again, digital has taken over that role. And when you really look at radio's role, even in the influencer marketing ecosystem, you have your RJs, and RJs were the OGs of your influencer marketing. And today again, they come back in a different avatar, RJs, with their credibility. Credibility is the the new byword to go by in terms of brands. When brands are looking at reaching the maximum number of people, you have your influencer marketing, influencers, a lot of influencers, and a lot of influencers today lack that credibility that a radio or a radio influencer really brings to the table. So the questions that were asked earlier in terms of is radio relevant, is radio necessarily a part of your media plan? I'd like to answer with a couple of mandatory slides that my research guys asked me to present. Okay, so radio really, in the last 1 month, 45% of media consumers have listened to radio. These are some numbers that you guys can take back, when you really make your media plan. Radio reaches 29.7 million listeners in India every week. 88% of millennials and Gen Xers believe that one of radio's primary advantage is local feel. 61% of radio listeners say that the main reason they tune in is because it uplifts their mood and gives up a feeling of companionship. So these are some numbers that should stay with you all. And when you look at influencer marketing, when you look at credibility, when you look at a couple of other, I think Sundar from General Mills had spoken about vernacular reach, and somebody had mentioned about, let me just come back to this, give me a minute. I think Jayaraman had spoken about credibility. And in terms of credibility, I want you guys to ponder about the word credibility for a minute. In this whole world of fake news, you've heard of fake news on TV, you've heard of fake news on the digital platform, in print, but have you heard of fake news on radio? That itself is a testament to the to the credibility what radio brings in terms of your media, in terms of reach. And along with digital, we call it the dynamic duo, digital and radio. Together, in terms of your brand reaching to the maximum audience, if you bring in a radio and a digital partner together, it reaches your maximum audience. Today, and let me tell you a little bit about Radio City and how we've managed content. We have something called raw digitalization, which is radio and digital, where when a client comes to us, we bring in the credibility that radio offers and the reach that digital offers. Together, along with our AI tools, we ensure that your brand reaches the maximum audience possible. So essentially, I was given exactly 10 minutes, although I had a big-ass presentation and stuff like that. So I'll quickly end it with a statement, which is, radio is relationship, and some relationship lasts forever. Done. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Bijay Nair. come on stage for felicitation. May I invite Ms. Sri Priya Swaminathan from Omnicom Group to give away the memento. Thank you. Let's move on with our next panel discussion, role of technology in digital ecosystem. I invite Mr. Anil Airur, President Reporter TV Network as moderator. As panelist, I invite Mr. Arnab Ghosh, Senior Marketing Leader ex-CMO Campari India, Mr. Nishan Nizar, Founder and Director of Armin Zain Consultancy, Mr. Dhruba Ghosh, Executive Vice President and Head Marketing, Provident Housing and Purva Land, Mr. Saurabh Jain, President South, Harvest Media India.
Good evening, Bangalore. So in any content, the climax is most important. So in 30 to 40 minutes, we will finish it up without boring you, hopefully. I request the panel members to introduce yourself to the audience.
Before we start, we have Mr. Nishant to join us.
Nishant will not be joining us.
All right, okay.
That's why I started.
Thank you. All right, thank you, sir.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Arnab Ghosh, and I've been a marketer with the beverages business in particular for a very long period of time. And currently, my last assignment was a CMO for Campari, Southeast Asia. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Saurabh Jain. I'm a media professional, media agencies for the last 7 years. Last 9 years, I've been working with Havas Media in South and building the branch. That's about it.
Hi, a very good afternoon to everyone. I'm Dhruv Jyoti Ghosh. I've been in the marketing field for the last 21 years. I've been in marketing in the BFSI segment, insurance, banking, non-banking, and the last decade I've been with the real estate. Currently, I head the marketing for Provident Housing and Purva Land, which is part of the Purvankara Group. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we start with in broadcast area. I'm only broadcaster, so I should say about myself also. We introduce a lot of AR and VR and XR technology in broadcasting, especially in news sector. I'll just play one video right now, just a few minutes. Can you just play that video? This one, fine. Okay, just, Shankar, I just have to play the video once. See, this XR, we last 2 weeks back, we made content for 30 minutes on Dhanushkodi. the accident that happened on 1964, the train accident. The entire content we created in XR and VR, and it was come out well. Just clippings I'll show you. That was actually now it's 3 lakhs views currently it has right now. So it has a broader reach in broadcasting also. And I would also like to know from Arnab, what is your view, technology role in speed it in your area? How do you use it for reach consumers more on that?
Thanks, Anil, for the question. Beverage marketing, and in particular alco-bev marketing, is kind of nuanced in a certain way. For example, there are two issues that kind of plague alco-bev marketing. One is the regulatory part of it, which does not allow you to talk a lot about the product and to show the product. And the second part of it is more intrinsic to the category, which means that, you know, if I'm holding a bottle of a 12-year-old single malt and it's a Speyside single malt, then a 12-year-old single malt from Speyside is essentially the same in terms of product delivery across all brands. There's hardly any difference in product delivery that you can experience if it's, if it's a 12-year-old or an 18-year-old coming from a certain distinct part of Scotland. So therefore, because of the generic nature of the category, in terms of the product delivery, in terms of the quality, it becomes important for marketers in the alco-bev space to talk more about what's outside the bottle. We talk about, not about what's in the bottle. In the bottle is hygiene. Quality is hygiene. But what's outside the bottle is what determines why a Macallan is 3 times more expensive than possibly a Glenlivet or a Glenfiddich. Now, when that happens, then the whole paradigm changes, because then you're trying to bring alive the brand to your consumers in a way so that they experience the brand as what the brand, the story of the brand, what makes the brand so special, rather than what's inside the bottle. So that's the key difference between alco-bev marketing and in general CPG marketing. So having said so, therefore, AR and VR has a certain specific relevance to the category, in the sense that we use VR to a very large extent to kind of bring to audiences and to our consumers things like a distillery visit. A distillery visit is at the core of where the product is made and how it is made, what goes into making the brand story, what is behind the brand story, the master distiller, the casking, the maturation, all of that. Now, only a handful of people can travel to Scotland to experience that. But when you have VR, you can actually take people, you can immerse people in the experience of driving through the, a Scottish town, entering into the distillery, seeing the various things, watching the master distiller at work, and so on and so forth. So that immersive experience is what we bring to life through VR. The other place that we are using VR in a very large way is to kind of scale the experiential parts of the brand story that we craft. So if we're doing a concert, say a brand is promoting or is sponsoring a Coldplay concert. Now that Coldplay concert is city specific. How do you take it out? How do you make somebody who's not there physically in that location experience the magic of the brand presenting Coldplay? That's where again VR comes in. And the last and more significant piece that we use more often, because these are more expensive pieces, is using AR to bring the brand tasting notes to life. So it's very easy to say that, this on the palate it is heather and honey and apricots and cherries and so on and so forth. But if you use AR, you can actually bring that to life for the consumer. He can actually see it, literally smell it, and therefore it becomes more embedded in his mind. So that's how we're using it.
Near future, we may be able to drink AR. Okay. Saurabh, you were talking to me when we were discussing the matter, your clients, you're dealing with Swiggy. Very interesting story that you're telling me, how they are giving information to their customers. the data they consumed the last year. Can you just explain that?
So it's a very interesting take, in fact, engagement with the clients. So what they really, it's an annual report of the consumer, and it goes only to you. So definitely the data is not shared, your data stays with you. At the same time, they interestingly tell you that this many orders you placed in the last year, and you ordered from one particular restaurant some 30 times, this was the average bill size, and this is the food you really love. And they put a comparison of that, and they also give you city-specific information that Bangalore was actually consuming biryani more than any other thing, and Delhi was in fact consuming something else. And then there's a comparison of that, and at an India level, what happens? So some interesting factoids which gets created, and this data is only with them. So it's an exclusive thing, you know. So I think it's a very interesting way of engaging with consumers, and it's client delight more than what you actually are doing. You're just engaging and being more informative.
Do you use AR, VR in your part in your clients' interactions or for engaging with the consumer?
See, till 22, 23, beginning of 23, I used to use a lot. Not beginning of 23, I would say 22, because I was leading Metaverse nationally for Havas, also apart from my current role, which is leading South in Havas. So, yes, all the things which Sir said made a lot of relevance to me, but globally, we also understood that maybe, you know, for some of the niche brands like alcohol category, it makes a lot of sense, but maybe it is still not mass, Janta is still not ready for this, right? So if you are creating a showroom, and I had presented to many of the clients of, in fact, B2B industry, say a tires brand also. So to that extent, people need not come to your showroom. You can actually just show all the features, we can flip the tires, we can do everything to do with it. So much so that, in fact, even in the real estate segment, in fact, I had presented this to Embassy, one of my clients. There are properties which are in the tune of 25 crores, and who will buy that in Bangalore? I mean, how many? What percentage? But understand that how many people can buy it when I take it to national level, or even to Gulf countries where a lot of people are actually potentially investing in India. So create that environment, create that touch and feel, the exact experience what they actually, when they visit the showroom or when they visit the model flat, and you can actually multiply what effect it can play. The small investment, it's an investment, it's not a spend, you know. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
Thank you. Dhruv, in your field, definitely it makes more sense to use AR and VR, especially in real estate. So what is your experience with that?
So, yeah, am I audible? Yeah. So I think in real estate, incidentally, obviously the VR makes a lot of headways, and it just makes sense because, you know, when we start selling, and more than 60% of the sale happens, you know, nowadays, even before a hole is dug, you know, which is at the new launch or the pre-launch stage itself. That's how the industry is moved. At that point in time, and before that itself, whilst we go and we showcase our product, it's the only way that we can, you know, really give a walkthrough across the project itself. Yeah? Plus, any kind of immersive feel that a person can, you know, get to feel without actually having that product in there is when we create those that kind of a scenario in terms of, so I think 2013-14 is when we had created a dome, yeah, in some of our projects where it's like in a shape of a half egg shell, and then, you know, with a 3D you know projector, a person can actually feel as if a person is taking a walk within the property itself with a larger scale. So those kind of things had started off way early in terms of real estate. But I think over a period of time, we've really covered a long way in terms of how, you know, various kind of technology and various kind of content, which is really built in terms of how we are making a sale or how we are taking it to the consumer. I mean, home buying is a very, very high involvement, you know, product. And for anybody to make a decision, there are various stages of how one goes through. And I think technology is making it much more easier for us to take it to the market. It was very interesting. One of the things that we did very, right at the beginning of the COVID, in 2020, we never thought what would happen. Yeah, and we were in the verge of launching a project. And obviously, none of the property can be bought, and it was a property development that we were bringing in for the first time under Purva brand. So when we took it to the market, it was in March, it got hit, and we literally had nothing to do in terms of reaching out to the customers. We had incidentally built a platform about a year back, wherein we actually did bring products of our portfolio as an e-com platform. What we did was we took this entire project on that e-com platform, and believe you me, on one particular day when we did the launch, it was, I think, in 8th of June of 2020, we actually sold 180 units online. Yeah, so they did visit the property when we started off communicating that product into the market, but on a particular day, coming online, having that confidence because they had seen the product, they believed in the brand. Obviously, that makes a huge difference. They actually made that booking online. So that's much, how we've traveled. And that platform also gives you the opportunity to take a virtual tour online wherever you're sitting. So even a person who's sitting abroad today can make that purchase by taking a virtual tour online. Yeah? Even if there are doubts, it can be connected through a VC, which has thankfully become a very, it's a norm now. For a meeting, the first thing is, can we do it online? And then, it's face-to-face. So even a purchase activities are happening on a VC with the help of this integration of a virtual tour.
Did your marketing spend come down or gone up?
Well, the marketing spend did go up, but that's a different factor. Why it has gone up is because the demands have gone up. But from a percentage perspective, obviously it's come down.
And the ROI, you're able to better?
We are able to better it with technology.
So you introducing this technology means you are able to expand your...
the distribution. The distribution gets widened. Then with that, the reach. And, if you look at, obviously, when we did the platform, which is similar to the e-com platform, we believe that we will be able to sell. Yes, we did make a dent in traveling certain distance, but obviously a property cannot be sold without having seen the location, seen the vicinity. So but it just made it easier for a person to take a decision after they have done that. So it just brought it closer, and the number of activities came down.
Right, thank you. You can play that video. Just see that video, what I talked about.
ഡിസംബർ 22-ന് ചുഴലിക്കാറ്റ് ശ്രീലങ്കയിലെതായത് അന്നത്തെ സിലോണിലെത്തി. തീരപ്രദേശത്ത് ചുഴലിക്കാറ്റ് ആഞ്ഞടിച്ചു. കനത്ത നാശനഷ്ടമാണ് ശ്രീലങ്കൻ തീരത്തുണ്ടായത്. 1000-ലധികം പേർ മരിച്ചു, നിരവധി പേരെ ചുഴലിക്കാറ്റ് തമിഴ്നാട് തീരത്തെയും ബാധിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. ധനുഷ്കോടിയെ അപ്പാടെ കടൽ വിഴുങ്ങിയ ആരാണ്? റെയിൽവേ സ്റ്റേഷനടുത്തുള്ള ഈ വലിയ വാട്ടർ ടാങ്കിന് മുകളിൽ നിന്നാൽ ധനുഷ്കോടി മുഴുവൻ കാണാം. റെയിൽവേ സ്റ്റേഷൻ മാസ്റ്ററും സഹായിയും ഈ വാട്ടർ ടാങ്കിന് മുകളിൽ അവരൊരിക്കലും പ്രതീക്ഷിച്ചില്ല ലോക്കോ പൈലറ്റ് തീവണ്ടി മുന്നോട്ടെടുക്കും. പക്ഷെ അവർ ആ കാഴ്ച കണ്ടു. ട്രെയിൻ ധനുഷ്കോടിയിലേക്ക് ചലിച്ചു. കനത്ത മഴ അവഗണിച്ച് ലോക്കോ പൈലറ്റ് ട്രെയിൻ മുഴുവൻ പെട്ടെന്ന് രാക്ഷസ തിരകൾ ആഞ്ഞടിച്ചു. കോച്ചുകളും ഒലിച്ചു. 110 യാത്രക്കാരും 5 ജീവനക്കാരുമായി വന്ന ആ ട്രെയിൻ ഒരു ദുരന്തത്തിലേക്കാണ് ചുവം പിടിച്ചു കടന്നത്. റെയിൽവേ സ്റ്റേഷനും സ്കൂളും പോസ്റ്റ് ഓഫീസും ആശുപത്രിയും അടക്കം ധനുഷ്കോടിയിലെ എല്ലാം ആ ചുഴലിയിൽ തകർന്ന് ധരിക്കുന്നു.
Thank you. What you've seen on this AR/VR protection, we did it in 40 days. This can be viewed with a headset also. So you will get an immersed feel where you go into that train, you will feeling that waves coming to you. So it's like a 7D experience. So this is the way now the content is getting engaged with viewers and other thing. So there are a lot of changes will happen in coming years and other in broadcasting also. You won't see linear TV viewing. CTV, the connected TV, will be a more attractive one. Possibly you will get the AR/VR set where you can view in a more dimensional way. So that's in our area, in our domain. Like, I just want to ask one more thing. How do you use AI in your domain? How effectively it is used?
Well, I think the biggest use of AI that I see right now, in my domain at least, is in terms of scaling up the content generation process. So generative AI is getting used to kind of ensure that content is more relevant. It's quicker on the table. And at the same time, you have an opportunity of experimenting with multiple different kinds of content. You do your A/B testings much faster. And therefore, you come up with content which is more relevant, which resonates better with consumers. And therefore, you can scale up that kind of a content at a pace which was not possible in the past. So I think that's where it's coming in very strongly now.
Okay. So you're also talking about the technology that is coming in a big way in India, which is happening in Western also. Even you are watched every moment. Can you just explain on that?
So this is basically, I was coming from the attention economy, which is the new currency, which is, we see it as a big potential, right? And the major question is, we all talk about GRP, CPTs, etc., and the differentiation, how much money should I allocate to television versus digital, and many such questions. Sometimes, you know, I work with a lot of startups, and startups, because of confidentiality and what of other reasons, they are not able to share so much data. So if we are not able to map that to sales, then we are not able to immediately tell them that how much which medium contributed. Yeah. Whereas a lot of comparisons have been done, a lot of softwares have been made, but you know, this is a technology which will bring your attention to screen into picture, and comparisons between a digital media, say a YouTube, and a television media, and some other mediums which are screen-centric, will be made that maybe 80% of the time you are looking at the screen, 70% of the time you are on another screen. So what is the attention percentage to the content you are giving? That kind of technology is coming, and Lumen Technologies, I think, is already doing it in India. In US, in fact, they're much advanced already. They have already experimented this for the last couple of years. And learnings like, you know, even though your reach or CPTs might be much higher on particular medium, but YouTube is doing far better than most of the digital mediums. Yeah. And that is a qualitative thing which we all want to understand, because, you know, CPRP, CPTs, these are yes, but something, you know, which connects back to sale, that because of this, I can reduce my frequency to the consumer because he's already giving so much attention to my content. You know, you can then compare that, listen, impact properties, play, and why do they command premium, how much premium can they command, all those things can be tied back. So I'm definitely waiting for this technology to become robust in India, the sample size to grow, looking forward to it.
So you mean you will be able to understand the consumer in a better way? Where
Not consumer, but consumer's behavior, how he consumes the screen.
Yeah.
Not behavior, in terms of, yeah.
But he is always fast.
Absolutely.
It's basically a privacy issue, right, in India.
So a lot of licensing being done around it, and it is about that only retina will be monitored and nothing more than that. It will be in, you know, just like a piplometer on television, we take permissions, right? Only basis that, so this will be a legalized form, nothing to do with anything else. So.
Okay. Dhruv, in area, how you use your AI, do you able to, so now basically real estate, you dream an architect, you build homes, villas, apartments. It comes from architect's point of mind of view, but do you able to understand what your consumer actually need? Or do you able to draw a picture on that?
Yeah, so we haven't ventured into the AI from that perspective at all. So I'll stick to where we are currently implementing the AI is more from because you know that's the domain that I really work on. So as of now, I think it's very important that you know how the communication is done to the consumers, and it's we generate loads of leads and loads of interest on a monthly basis, on a daily basis. But you know one of the most important aspect which we are seeing, which is growing, is the consumer behaviors are moving towards, rather than a call, they're more convenient with chatting. Yeah. Now in the chat is where we've actually implemented a whole of generative AI only from the perspective that the chats are more relevant and it can give as much more data based on the queries that, and it's not a stupid answer or a predefined answer and then you start looking for something which is not relevant and it becomes a mockery. So that's where the primary AI implementation which has been done so far. The other aspects are also that whilst we reach out to the consumers, it's very important that we look at rather than doing a carpet bombing and over communicating, the relevant kind of communication goes from various medium as well as from different time. So, for example, if you look at the practice was that you just keep calling that customer again and again till the time the customer actually blocks you off. That's always is a bad practice from a brand perspective. Today, I can use the intelligence in terms of, hey, if the call has been done to the customer, the next should be an SMS followed by a WhatsApp, and each of them, the content is a continuity and not the same content over and over again. So that makes a whole lot of difference in terms of. The third aspect is also from a consumer perspective, is from our perspective mostly, is that whilst we generate a lot of data, how can we bring in a scoring system to identify which will be even more relevant for us to attempt by providing what kind of a offer or maybe what kind of a product that they may prefer. So those are the things that are work in progress. But from an immediate perspective, from an AI point of view, I think the chat is something which has already been into the real estate market as well, industry per se. Right now, it's only from a text perspective. Shortly, we will also see audio coming into play very soon.
Arnab, you were talking last time when we discussed this that the consumer behavior is changing. They are moving into more quality bills. The same thing Saurav was telling. So did this mean that they are spending more than earlier, or they see a lot of what do you see, a lot of content in digital, then the spend is moving on?
No, I think overall, if I look at it, the consumer, Indian consumer post-COVID has essentially started moving into a space which is more premium. And at the same time, the whole mantra today is about consuming less but consuming better. And the other part of the story is that there's a huge amount of experimentation that is happening. The whole story about the Indian alcobev space changing over 2 years of COVID centers around the fact that India has always been a straight drinks market. You just add soda, water, ice, or whatever it is that you want to do, and you consume your alcohol. The whole concept of cocktails in India was non-existent prior to COVID. Today, cocktail bars are the hottest properties in India. I mean, there was an article 2 days back in the Economic Times about a cocktail bar called Sidecar, which is in GK2 in Delhi. And they have multiplied their profits almost 30 times prior to what they had before COVID and what they are now. So there is this whole plethora of change that is happening with consumers and the way consumption is shaping up. So to that effect, I think that, even in the content space, whereas, a lot of people talk about the demerits of generative AI because generative AI tends to be repetitive at some point of time. But I think personally that the human connect will never be lost because the creativity that human beings can bring in will never be matched by generative AI. Simply because, from a very basic construct, you're looking at a large language model. And a large language model essentially takes in stuff which already pre-exists and then innovates on that. So there's nothing new out there. Unless it already exists in the universe, the LLM cannot translate it back to something new. Whereas human beings, with their sheer amount of creativity, can think laterally, can think differently, can think outside the box, which LLMs cannot, because that's not how they're programmed in the first place. And therefore, human creativity will always transcend what generative AI can do unless, over a period of time, they tend to mimic the human brain, which I think is still some way off. But till that time, I think there is huge scope for creativity, for good content, and less of it, because there's too much of content around us. It's like a deluge. It's everywhere, different kinds of media. Everybody is kind of overwhelmed with content. So I think a time will come when people will say, stop. I just don't want this deluge anymore. I want good content, relevant content, creative content, and that is what I'm willing to consume. The rest I'm willing to trash.
So, what is your take on that? The same question.
No, same. I think, initially you might feel that maybe people are paying more, we are spending more, but I think it's all in the long term, it's an investment. And what only consumer is going to benefit from this more, right? Yes, our costs might go down because we are implementing certain technologies. In terms of machine learning, I've seen applications and most of the apps, they take into account even the negative reviews of the consumer, and they will play down all the content which you have negatively rated, and they will upplay all the content which you have rated high. So automatically consumers' experience in the app becomes much more enhanced. Similarly, personalization is another way artificial intelligence is going to play a big role. Right now we talk about deep fakes, but what if it becomes legalized? What if it is done in the right way? Then a Shah Rukh Khan can talk to you, to Saurabh Jain in particular. He can talk to Arnab, he can talk to Anil, he can talk to Ruba, and there can be customized messages to each one of us and immediate action which can be again monitored. So those kind of things are being discussed and will definitely become possible. Think about the impact which plays the same ad which is going generic to national janta versus it is going personalized to me. What is the impact it plays to me? And therefore, cost of media might go up, but maybe clutter might go down. Yeah.
This one friend came from Poland last 2 weeks back. He came to my town. So I was driving my vehicle. So in between, I'm taking calls and everything. Then he said, Anil, what are you doing? Why you are physically you're taking phone? I said, I used to that. Then I said, you have Sri. I said, I used to Sri, but no. Then he actually, after drying down, 1 hour he sit with me. He taught me how to operate phone without touching. I said, I want to go to WhatsApp. I want to send messages. You see, everything can be done. But I didn't know that can be done. Sri is there. Everybody is there. We are using it partially. But he literally don't touch phone. He just calls Anil. In 3 seconds, call Anil. In 3 seconds, Anil, the phone is getting dialed. I said, I want to send messages privately. So what is the problem? He said, if you are in driver is there, we can send messages, but don't touch phone. But the technology people are using in such a way, even we buy mobile for 1.5 lakhs, phone, everything, but we use only 5% of it. So there's so much technology in this. Everything is there. But so how we are using it is in our daily life is much important. You can now switch on the AC from your office at your home. You can switch on the AC in your car from your home. That's everything is there, but are we using it for fully in our life is the question. I would also like to have a question from audience if there is anything. Any question from the audience? Dry after 4 o'clock. Okay. So anything which you added? Just these questions what we have right now. Thank you for coming to the session. Thank you for. Shankarji.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
May I request Mr. Avinash, Chief Revenue Officer from Radio City, Ms. Netra, Programming Director and RJ from Radio City, Mr. Deepak Kanani, Director Serevan Media, to felicitate the panelists. Netra, please, for group. In closing, this content summit has been a remarkable journey of insights, collaboration, and inspiration. As we wrap up this transformative event, let's carry forward the knowledge gain, forge new connections, and continue to elevate the art and impact of content creation. Here is to a future filled with innovative content delivery and shared successes. Until next time, keep creating and pushing the boundaries. Before we wind up this event, South India Content Summit attained its glory today due to its patronage of our sponsors. Let me thank our valuable sponsors, because of whom South India Content Summit today was possible. South India Content Summit, powered by Trendloud, The Hindu, agency partner Omnicom Media Group, innovative content partner Radio City, digital partner Siri One, regional partner Republic Kannada, Republic English, V6, Velugu, Puthiya Thalaimurai, Pudu Yugam, IBW, outdoor partner Tribes, news partner Republic TV, event partner Benchmark Events, associate sponsor Vigadan, stationery partner Brill, cultural infotainment channel Shankara TV, and wardrobe partner Botticelli. May I request everyone to rise for national anthem? May I request everyone to rise? Thank you all. May I request entire fourth dimension team for a group picture?